So today we're going to talk about reaching and converting your ideal couple with advertising specifically. And I'm so excited to share with you what I've learned over the last 15 years. Quick story about me. I was a wedding photographer in the early 2000s. I discovered Google Ads and it changed my business and changed my life because it allowed me to not have to do all the networking and the Chamber of Commerce and all these things that I was just really running ragged and 7 days a week running my photography business, doing all the networking, trying to do the marketing and growing it. And when I discovered advertising and I got good at advertising, it really changed my life a lot. And the short story is that I actually started helping other people with advertising and it turned into a business. And I put my camera away, picked up a computer, and 15 years later, it's my passion to help wedding businesses with advertising so that they can just live better lives like I experienced. Anyway, it's a whole story, but we're not here about my story. We're here to talk about advertising. And it is so much more about getting people to click on something and visit your website. What we know advertising to be is when you create your own system of advertising, you are in control of your lead generation. Now, this is sort of my unpopular opinion in the wedding industry that, like, a lot of times as a wedding business, we are trying to get on a venue list if we're a photographer or a DJ, or we're always asking or hoping for referrals, or maybe we're using big box sites like Wedding Wire and The Knot. And those are actually really good. Those can be really great things. Obviously, we can build our business on referrals and warm leads and things like that. But at the end of the day, those things are dependent on other people to help grow your business. And if you want to take control of your business growth and grow quicker than just waiting for referrals, my unpopular opinion is that creating an advertising system that you're in control of that lead generation is the way to do it. And so, and don't get me wrong, you can see the little note there on the bottom of my slide. I absolutely think warm leads and referrals are incredible, and Wedding Wire and The Knot has its place. But there is an opportunity out there for wedding businesses to take control of their lead generation by using Google Ads, Meta Ads, and TikTok ads. And that's what we're going to talk about today to see. Just share a whole bunch of information. This is our guide for today. Three main points I want to come away. I want to share with you. That you want to come away with and talk about how couples are engaging with advertising. We're actually going to go into what a good, effective ad looks like on each platform and how to set that up. And then we're going to talk about what results we should expect from an effective ad campaign. So let's dive right in. First question. First, before we even get there, we're going to talk about couples and how they interact with ads. But the first question that we have to address is so many people have advertised in the past and it didn't work for them. And and so they're like, why doesn't advertising work? I don't understand. Sorry, I'm just bringing the questions up here on the screen too. And the reality is that so many folks try advertising thinking that it's the same, it's going to get the same results, and people are going to act the same as the warm referrals that reach out to their business from their referral partners. Warm referrals come from someone who has built trust in your business because someone said great things about you. Warm referrals already know a little bit about your business and how you work because they were referred by someone who's already had an experience with you. And they will often forgive or overlook a crappy website or a website that doesn't actually convert because they're excited to work with you because maybe it was their sister that got married and used you, or someone at a venue who recommended you. They'll also forgive or overlook poor follow-up. But when it comes to advertising and spending your money reaching a very cold audience, that ad traffic doesn't know you anything about you. They don't care that you exist, and they judge you based on your website. They'll determine whether you will have a good quality service delivery if your website is good. But if your website isn't good in their eyes, they're going to think you're not a good business and they're not going to use you. And they're easily turned off by small mistakes because advertising traffic is very cold. So a lot of people who have advertised in the past said, oh, it didn't work for me. But what they didn't recognize is that the money they spent and the people they reached have no skin in the game, and they don't really care about your business. And it takes more work and more effort to turn that cold audience into a warm lead. So we're going to talk more about like what that looks like in each platform, but also importantly, the thing I want you to remember at this point is that if you expect advertising to perform the same as your referral partners, you will absolutely be disappointed. And I know that sounds super, super negative, but for a long time we've been sold on like, oh, throw some money at it and it's going to work, but that's just not true. And so I don't want to start out negative because we're going to get positive in a second, but this is really important for folks to understand. So today's couples are And before we talk about what a great ad looks like, we have to understand who we're reaching with those ads, right? So today's couples are research experts. They whip out their phone and they can explore every nook and cranny of your business within 5 minutes, and they're doing it on their mobile device. Like I said before, they're cold. They don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you yet. They want to purchase from people instead of a huge business. They want to support a small business. They want to support the story of a small business. They are interacting with advertising 90% on their mobile devices, and a lot of them aren't even reading their emails. They want a text message. They want to start the conversation with their wedding vendors and venues and bridal stores and things like that via text message. They just want to ask a couple questions to figure out if you're the right fit. They don't want to read long emails. So it's really important to understand what couples want and what they're like in today's environment. So on the screen, it looks kind of crazy, and this is an example of a bride's journey to deciding to contact someone who's advertising. And this is not my opinion. It's not, I didn't create it just because I like the way it looks or I think this is what I think. This is based on data. We do a lot of tracking, we do a lot of interviewing and finding out what couples' journeys are to deciding to contact a venue or a vendor. So it starts with a Google ad. Maybe they're Googling and they click on your Google ad, they visit your website homepage, but then they see your little Instagram logo, like, oh yeah, I want to see what's going on Instagram. Are their pictures pretty? Is it my vibe? Is it my style? And then they look at your Google reviews because they want to know, what have other people said about this business? I don't know this business yet. I want to hear what other people have said because I don't know if I should contact them because I don't trust them yet. And then maybe they get to your about page because they want to read your story and they end up on the packages page and they see that. But they leave because this is their journey. They're just discovering who exists out there to help them have the wedding of their dreams. So they're in that discovery mode. They found you on Google, they went to a couple pages, they looked at your reviews and they left. But then maybe they saw your TikTok ad. They saw this really cool video and that reminded them, oh, I know these people. I remember them. I really like this cool video. I enjoyed reading their reviews. So I'm going to go back to the packages page and kind of remind myself what they're offering and what their packages are. And then they get to the contact page like, okay, I think I'm going to contact them. But maybe they see your little Google map on your contact page and like, how far away is that venue? Or are they really in my area? And they eventually end up back on the home page because they're still learning. And at that point, they decide, okay, I like this business. I'm going to shoot them a text or I'm going to chat on their little chat functionality on their website. This journey is so wild, right? It is so many bits and pieces and steps along the way. It is not that they just clicked a Google ad and decided, oh, I love this business. I'm going to contact them and hire them. You have to win them over. And the takeaway here is that couples need to see you in multiple places, multiple times, and multiple formats in order to get a sense of who you are and really like you and make a decision to contact you. And this is just contacting you. This isn't like booking you, right? This isn't the sale. This is getting the lead. So in today's environment, because couples are research experts, because they're a cold audience when it comes to advertising, because they're on their mobile device, they need to see you in multiple places, multiple times, and in multiple formats. I'm going to say this again throughout different slides because it's really, really the most important takeaway you need to know about advertising if you go into it. So let's talk about the first ad platform, Google Ads. And I want to talk about Google Ads first because it is absolutely the most important advertising platform to start with when you're going to decide to pay money for ads. Because it reaches couples who are actively searching for you. When someone goes to Google and they type in wedding venues near me or bridal stores near me or wedding photographer Toledo, Ohio, they're looking for you. They're actively searching for you and they intend to find an answer to their question or a solution to their problem. So that's why Google is the most important platform to start with because of that search intent, is what we call it in the marketing world. And on Google, a lot of folks who may have a Google My Business account, maybe in setting up that account, Google's like, hey, you should spend $5 or $10 a day on a smart campaign, and we'll put your business in front of other people. Well, the truth is that smart campaigns, and another campaign called Performance Max, which is very similar to that, are absolutely terrible and awful, and you should not be using them. If you are watching this recording, or if you're even right now watching this presentation, feel free to like dive away and go to your Google Ads account if you are paying money for Google Ads and it's a smart campaign or a performance ad campaign, and turn that off. It is absolutely wasting your money. The only thing that these two types of Google campaigns do for you, they're very automated, and the only thing they do for you actually is that when someone types in your business name into Google, it brings your business to the top and as an ad, and so you're paying for people who already know that you exist because they typed in your business name. These are terrible, terrible things that Google does, and it's a whole conversation that I could have for 30 minutes. We won't camp on it, but just if you're running Google Ads or maybe you have the app on your phone, go in there and turn that off because you're absolutely wasting your money and there's no point in running it. If they type in your business name and they know that you exist, they're going to find you in the organic results. You don't need to be paying Google for that. The type of campaign that you should be running is called a search campaign. And this type of campaign is built by hand, and you choose every single detail of the campaign. And it takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of knowledge, but it is the type of campaign that you should be running. It's called a search campaign. So let's talk about, let's say you said, hey, Google, I'm going to create an ad campaign. And you get to the point where it's like you've picked your budget, and we'll talk about that later, and you're creating your ad. I want to talk about what works best for your ad because, we don't have 5 hours today to dive into every detail of that, but a lot of it you can figure out yourself. But what is really important if you talk about what should your ad say, because that's the piece of your campaign that's outward facing and is either going to get someone to click on your ad or have them scroll past it and ignore it. And one of the most important things that works for your ad is that you have, it's called message match in our world. You can see that the search on Google was suit rental for weddings. And the first headline in bold and blue of the ad says wedding suit rentals. It has to match, that has to say the same thing. If you put your business name in that first headline, when someone typed in suit rentals and you're like, so the example, the Tux guys, it doesn't match. The name of the business actually doesn't match what they search, and they're like, this isn't what I looked for. So the keyword that you set up in your campaign has to be written out in that first headline of your ad. That is the most important thing you can do for your Google ads. And your smart campaigns and performance max campaigns don't do that. They don't give you the control to actually write that first headline to match your keywords. The second thing that you want to make sure you do in your Google Ads campaign, your search campaign setup, is they're called assets. And the two pink arrows pointing here are pointing to what are called assets in the ad. The top, where it says submit measurements and testimonials, those are actually called site link assets, and those allow you to put little links to deeper pages on your website. So if someone says they're searching for tux rentals and they see the ad, but you know what? Maybe they're really, really interested in just looking at the testimonials. They can click on that testimonials button and get right to that testimonials page. It allows them to take the journey that they want with your ad and not necessarily force them into a journey that isn't right for them by going to your homepage if there's something else that they're super interested in. And then below, you can see there's a phone number and there's an address. That address is where it's actually a link to your Google My Business account. So where you have your reviews and you put your business on Google, you want to make sure that you put your phone number in there and you link to your Google My Business account as an asset because that allows people to see where you are and actually to call you if they want to call you. And to be honest, not a lot of people are going to call you. That's just not how Gen Z and younger millennials, that's not how they want to communicate these days. But by having the phone number there, it actually does build trust because this is an ad. Sometimes people are leery of advertisements, but when they know that they can like take an action and call you, they have more trust in the ad itself. So even if people don't click that button and call you a lot, having the phone number there builds trust with your ad. And that's a super important thing when they don't know you yet and it's a cold audience. Here's another thing that can be really, really important. Your first headline, of course, like we said, must match the keyword. You can see that it does there, all-inclusive wedding venue. The second headline and the third headline, if you have space for it, is a great place to put an offer or a really, really, really strong value proposition or unique selling proposition, whatever makes you different and unique. It is very important that you communicate, that you hear them, you've made that message match in the first headline, and then immediately tell them in the second headline what makes you great or give them an offer. There isn't a perfect recipe for every single business, but the takeaway is an offer or a unique selling proposition that they can't get anywhere else. And that is going to be what entices them to click, but also know what makes you different and get excited about you. So after you've created your ad, we're going to go on to demographic targeting. In Google Ads, you can set targeting or you can set parameters for who you want to see your ads when they search. So you can see there's pink arrows here for age, gender, household income. Those are the three main demographic categories that you can enter into Google. And then also the bottom arrow, which is pink, points to exclusions. You can exclude people. So you can see here on this little snippet from the Google Ads account that people who are older than 44 years old are not seeing the ads because in this particular campaign, we've excluded them. We want to show our ads only to brides, basically couples younger than 44 who are getting married. And there's other screens like, but you get the idea. Like you can exclude gender or you can include gender if you want to. You can set household income parameters. If you're a bride, if you're a luxury business and you want luxury folks, you're going to set that household income to top 5 or 10%, right? And so you're really customizing who sees your ad and when. And the last bit about demographic targeting, and I know I'm just going through these in quick screenshots, but like I just want to acknowledge too, sorry, that this is all like little bits and pieces that you choose when you build your campaign from scratch. And you're a smart person, you can totally do it. You just take your time, sit down with a cup of coffee, and make sure that you're looking at each choice and like going through and thinking this through. So, so we can also target by different audience segments, they're called. And you can see on the screen here, there's people who are interested in wedding planning, or they're in market for wedding planning, or they're in market for bridal wear. You can actually bid more for these people if Google has identified that they're shopping for wedding dresses or they're planning their wedding. Google knows a whole lot about people because a lot of people search on Google while they're logged into their Google account. And so it's really powerful to be able to say, hey, Google, these are the people that we really want to show our ads to, and we may want to bid a little bit higher for them, or we may want to not show them if they're in an audience segment that we don't want. If this doesn't make sense or want clarification, please definitely drop questions into the chat there or the Q&A area. So key considerations for Google Ads before we move on and talk about Meta and TikTok. Keyword match, compelling text, and assets are so important for your ads. You must link your ad to Google My Business because then it shows the little map thing there, which is great. And you want to layer on demographic variables. This is the way to ensure that your Google ads actually reach the right people and aren't reaching people who aren't interested. And you don't pay a lot of money for clicks on Google ads for people who just really aren't the right fit for your business. All right, so let's move on to meta ads. So we talked about Google, and Google is very high search intent. They're looking for you. It's very top of the funnel. It's really cool to reach people there because you know they want to find you. Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram, is where people spend a lot of like engaged couples spend a lot of time, especially Instagram, right? So meta ads are equally important for helping people see you in multiple places, multiple times, and in multiple formats. Because Google ads are not very sexy. It's just text, but there's high search intent. Whereas meta ads are really incredible because they're images, they're video, they're very emotional and compelling. And when we think about setting up a meta ads campaign, you also have choices just like you do on Google for campaign type, or the bidding algorithm it's called. So on the left-hand side, you can see when you're creating a meta ads campaign, you get all these campaign objectives, they're called. There's a green check mark next to the traffic objective, and there's a little yellow triangle next to the leads objective. All of the rest of them have red X's next to them because you should not be using them when you're setting up your meta ads campaign. The traffic campaign objective, that it tells Meta, say, I want to spend my money on people who want to click my ad and visit my website and learn about my business. That is the campaign type that you should absolutely be using. None of the others, except possibly for leads. A leads campaign takes conversion data, like people who have filled out the form on your website or called your business by clicking on your phone number on your website. If you're tracking those things with a Meta Pixel, it takes that data and shows your ads to people who are likely to take that same action. But if you are not tracking with the Meta Pixel and tracking conversions, when those conversions are when someone fills out your form, chats with you, clicks to call you, or text you from your website, you cannot use that leads campaign objective because it doesn't give the system any data to work with to find people who are likely to do the same things. So if you aren't doing that and you don't have tracking set up, always start with a traffic campaign, but set that tracking up. Have your web developer or an advertising expert set that tracking up so you can start gathering that conversion data. And then once you have some conversion data, you can switch it over to a leads campaign. So you're using that data to find people who are also very much more likely to click on your ad and then contact you and become a lead. When we look at audience strategy, the next step in your campaign build out on Meta, we can look at location, age, gender, all the things there on the screen. The example I'm sharing here is one of our members at the I Do Society at a Disney hotel. So it's actually really sort of simple to create their audience. And I use this because it's something that we can all understand and relate to. Is obviously Geography is whatever you want it to be. You can choose your whole state. You can choose a radius around your business. You can choose zip codes. In this case, they chose the state of Florida. They've identified that basically women who are within the age range of 25 to 38 are really their best client at this particular hotel. But the interesting thing gets down there to the bottom where it says people who match and also must match and also must match. We've layered on targeting here to identify and say, hey, because we're a Disney hotel and we want to make sure that the people who see our ads are people who are really interested in the Disney company. They like Disney. We're not worried about showing our ads to other people because this is such a niche specific property and venue. So they must be interested in Disney and they must also match. They must also be engaged, right? So engaged women who are interested in Disney. But then we layered on a third, which was income, because we know that getting married at this Disney hotel is not cheap. And so we need to make sure that basically it's the top 25% of income earners who like Disney and they're engaged. They're in the state of Florida, they're women, and they're the age range of 25 to 38. And so we can all relate to this example because Disney's pretty obvious. And maybe for your venue or for your business, it's not as obvious. But really, really, really dive into like your ideal client and find out who they are and layer on these demographic options inside your meta ads campaign so that your ad money is only spent on people who really are a good fit for you. Is it that they love dogs, or maybe they're really a cat person and you're a cat person and you're, I don't know, you get the idea. You can layer on the demographic targeting. We don't have to go too deep into it, but you do have an ideal couple and they do have specific characteristics about them that you can layer into your ad campaign too when you're creating your meta campaign setup. And one more quick note is that when you're creating your audience here, Meta is going to pop up this little window on the right-hand side, and it gives you your estimated audience size. What we know from having spent over $25 million in advertising in the wedding industry is that most businesses should look for an audience size of about 10,000 people and spend about $500 per month on their meta ad campaigns so that those 10,000 people in that audience see the ad multiple times because they're not searching on Instagram and Facebook for your business necessarily. And so they need to see the ad multiple times, between about 7 to 10 times. So a budget of $500 and an audience size of 10,000 people is the super sweet spot to make sure that $500 is spent so that the people in your audience see the ad multiple times. And that's really, really, really important. Let's take a look at the ads themselves. So this is a wedding venue in Colorado. The pink arrows are pointing to different components of the ad. The topmost pink arrows are pointing to the video. I'm going to play the video in a second, but there's a video used on Instagram and Facebook. It's the same ad. You set it up inside the Meta Ads platform, and it shows on both platforms, both Facebook and Instagram. Down below, actually, let's take a look at the video. So you get the idea. The video is like the super beautiful walkthrough of the venue. It doesn't have to be that in particular, but what I want to communicate is that at this point in time, video is the most powerful thing you can put into an ad on Facebook and Instagram. Below that, you want to have a really strong headline. In this case, it just tells the location of the venue, a little bit about it, and it has a Learn More button. What we found is that the Learn More button, you can choose the button you want to show up with your ad. It can be like sign up or book now or learn more. When couples are seeing your ads on Meta, they do not want to book now. They don't know you exist yet. So don't ask them to book now or to sign up or take a strong action. Ask them to learn more, to click on your ad, to visit your website and learn more about your business. And then the very like last I'm actually purposely skipping over the text of the ad because honestly, ad copy is important in a way, but really the most important thing is that headline that tells what makes your venue unique or where your venue is. No one's really reading the text above it. It just isn't something that people spend time on. So, do your best. We could talk about that for a whole other half an hour, but at the end of the day, I'm skipping over that because it just isn't as important as the video. The video does all the work. It's going to create the emotion and share with people what you're offering them. And then the last little arrow down there at the bottom, you can see there's some likes and some loves and some comments. when you have an ad that's been running for a while and people like it and comment on it, that builds social proof. And that's really, really, really important. You can see that this ad doesn't have like a date or a reference to any time frame on it. It's called an evergreen ad. It runs continuously. It's not about like fall weddings or spring weddings or whatever. It's just all about a stunning Colorado mountain venue with a great video. And then when people like it and comment on it, other people who see this in their feed think, oh, this is something valuable for me to pay attention to. Subconsciously, they're like, oh, this post has a lot of interaction, so I'm going to pay attention to it. So it's really powerful to have an evergreen ad with a video and a great headline. Um, and then in on Instagram on the right hand side there. I'm sorry it's not pictured, but like when people hit the like button, which is the little heart, right, and comment, it actually shows metrics and data there of people who have commented and liked it as well. And the same thing goes for Instagram. Obviously, Instagram is like so much more important than Facebook these days, and so it's just a little bit more visual and obvious in the example on Facebook. But the same thing happens on Instagram. When people like and comment and share on it, it signals to someone else who sees that for the first time. It's like, oh, this is valuable content here on Instagram. I'm going to pay attention to it instead of keeping scrolling. So here's our key considerations for meta ads. Your video does all the work. A great video creates emotion and tells people who you are, what makes you different, and what makes you great. Your bidding strategy matters very deeply. You must spend your money first on traffic, and if you collect lead data, then lead campaigns later on. And your audience definition and size is so important. If you're spending $5 a day and your audience size is 100,000 people, those people are only going to see your ad once, and it's not enough to remind them who you are, what makes you great and different. So take that advice, use it in your ad campaigns, and don't deviate from it. All right, we're in the home stretch, and we're going to talk about TikTok ads. And TikTok ads is something I'm so absolutely passionate and excited about because it's changing the game. It's changing how wedding businesses advertise for the better, and it's just so freaking cool. So TikTok ads are different than Meta ads in a lot of ways because they reach couples in a format they remember and love. TikTok uses short form video, meaning super short videos that are memorable and emotional. And I was at a conference recently where someone was talking about TikTok and they said, you know why TikTok works so well is because we've made Instagram too pretty. Where Instagram is so curated and so fake in so many ways, where TikTok is very gritty and it is very organic and natural. It conveys a ton of information in a really memorable way through that short form video. And one thing that's really, really cool about advertising on TikTok is you don't need a social account. You don't need to be posting to TikTok every day like you do on Instagram. You can literally create a TikTok ads account and you don't have to worry about being social on TikTok and posting all the time. You can create 2 videos, put them in an ad, voila, there you go. It's so cool because TikTok took all the bad things about Meta and like made them good. And it's really, really, really powerful. So here's a TikTok example, and this is funny. All right, so like raise your hand. You can do it yourself at home because I can't see you, but raise your hand if you're at all interested in soap operas. Probably not. But this was a TikTok video that I saw that was like, what's it like being on the set of a soap opera behind the scenes? You can see the cameras, you can see the staff, and then he breaks character because it's behind the scenes. The reason I share that example is because it's like very interesting. Like I have zero interest in soap operas, like zero, but I stopped to watch this because I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in how that works. And it was just a poignant example for me of how TikTok and short form video is changing the game because it's changing the conversation. It's not overly produced and too pretty. It's literally like informational and educational. I'm gonna share an example from one of our members who's a bridal store. They in their TikTok ads, they actually use it to educate potential brides on what they should know before getting their wedding dress. So you probably can't hear the volume, but I'm going to play it so you can see how it goes. This is one of their bridal stylists who's giving the information in the TikTok video. They're showing examples. You probably can't hear it, but there's a really cool song happening in the background. You get the idea. So this video again, it's educational. It's not asking someone to buy a dress now. It is helping the person who sees this video on TikTok fall in love with the store because they've helped her move forward in her search for finding a dress by informing her and educating her. And it builds so much trust with the business in that cold audience. And if you've never created a short form video, it's really similar to Reels, but it's like more gritty and organic on TikTok. Here are a couple examples of what you can create and keep it super easy. Before and after. Every one of us in the wedding industry has a before and after to show someone. If you're a venue, you can show the venue without any decor, and it's not decorated, it's not set up for a wedding, it's just the empty space. And then you do a little switch to the after of like an amazing wedding happening there. A before and after for a bridal store is like the bride in her street clothes, and then she's in her beautiful wedding gown that she's chosen, or before and after hair and makeup, or another example behind the scenes, how it's done. This is great for like DJs setting up their lighting and their kit and their gear, or like florists building a bouquet, right? How it's done in behind the scenes is so powerful because people love to know that, and it builds so much trust with your business. You can educate, give a tour of your space if you have a physical location, and even more importantly, show your face. When you show your face in video, it helps people know who you are and like you and build trust in you and want to work with you when they're the same type of person as you and they relate to you. TikTok video is so powerful. I could get on a soapbox about it for hours. But we're going to move on to the logistics of it. So when you are um, creating your ad campaign, your same thing as Meta, you get these options. You want to send traffic to your website. That's the algorithm you want to choose. And the audience setup with TikTok is a little bit different because you can see on the screen here. Obviously, it looks different, but some of the differences are you can choose your location just the same. You can choose gender just the same. But on TikTok, unfortunately, you have to choose age ranges. You can't choose a specific number of like 28 to 34. You choose an age range. You can also choose income levels and spending power, which is important for a lot of businesses in the wedding industry. And then, unfortunately, you cannot target just engaged people, but by layering on these wedding interests of different types, like wedding dresses, photography services, etc., you're doing the exact same thing at the end of the day. And there's a little red X there. You can see it, smart interests and behaviors. This is just like a smart campaign on Google. Do not do this. Turn it off. Do not let TikTok choose your audience for you. You are in control of your audience. TikTok doesn't know your business. They don't care about your business. They're just here to collect money and spew your ads out there. So by not letting them make decisions for you, you're going to spend your money wisely on the right couples for you. And then the one little bit difference too about TikTok is that the audience sizes do have to be a little bit larger, and you need to have an audience size somewhere around 40,000 if you're going to spend same thing about $500 a month on TikTok ads. And even then, TikTok says, "Oh, this is a narrow audience. Try broadening it." Don't worry about that. Don't listen to it. Just go on with your audience size of about 40,000 people, and you'll be just fine. This is TikTok trying to get more money. So here's your key considerations to wrap up TikTok ads. Your video wins their heart. TikTok is entertainment. It's not social media. It's not conversational like social media posts are. It's literally winning people over by building know, like, and trust. And it's super cheap. The early bird gets the worm. What we're seeing right now is that wedding businesses who are adapting and doing TikTok ads are paying literally maybe a fifth to a third of the cost as clicks up to a third of the cost of clicks on ads to their website as on Instagram and Meta, right? So a lot of people are like, "Ugh, I just can't fathom another platform. Like, I'm so over it. I just learned Instagram or whatever." But at this moment in time, people who are adopting TikTok and changing their strategy and moving over there are getting amazing results because it's so incredibly cheap because there aren't a lot of people there and it's not as crowded. All right, here's our last segment. We're going to talk about results. You've built your Google Ads campaign, you've built your Meta or your TikTok ads campaign. Couples who are your ideal couple who are searching for you and seeing you in multiple places, multiple times in multiple formats it's all happening. It's wonderful. What should you expect to receive from your ad campaign? Here's the thing. A lot of people ask, how do I measure return on investment? How do I know if I spent $50, what did I get for my $50? How do I know that it's working? Well, every one of us who said, "I want internet privacy. I don't want to be tracked." You can't have internet privacy and then also track conversions and one-to-one accurate perfect conversions and produce an exact ROI, because internet privacy and not being tracked means that you can't track people. You don't know, and you can't put those numbers together all the time. It can be done a little bit on Meta, but it's not perfect. And so unfortunately, at this point in time, because privacy laws have gone into effect, there's an Apple privacy update in 2021. If anyone has an iPhone and you've downloaded a new app and you select that button that says ask app not to track, that means they can't track you. And so for that reason, accurate conversion tracking and knowing the exact number of leads you got from your ad campaign isn't possible in the internet today. But how do we measure it? We often measure overall lift, and TOF means top of the funnel conversions. So what we're looking at is each month with our members of the Adu Society, where we manage their ad campaigns for them, we are checking in once a month. Hey, how many leads did you get last month? How many leads did you get this month? So we're looking at overall lift in like new people who texted them to inquire, new contact form fills, and then also listening is a really, really important thing. Um, Leads who come from a cold audience with advertising ask different questions than warm referrals, right? So we're tracking those questions that they ask and seeing, okay, we're getting a lot more like high level questions about pricing. Are you available for a certain date? And you can kind of see the difference in your warm referral leads where they're like asking different questions. They already know you in a different way. So there are ways to measure results, but unfortunately, because of internet privacy, which is a good thing, that like one-to-one my dollars equal exactly this just doesn't exist in the advertising world today overall. But when couples see you in multiple places, multiple times, in multiple formats, they're exponentially more likely to become a quality lead because they know, like, and trust you. When they're actively searching for you and they find you on Google at the top of the funnel there, and they go through your website and then they see your meta ads and they fall in love with you on TikTok, they're so much more likely to become a quality lead because they've taken that journey and they've seen you again and again and again. And what advertising does is it turns thousands of couples that don't even know that you exist into couples who know you and want to contact you for more information. These are the realistic results you should expect from advertising. And at the end of the day, when you have an advertising system that you're in control of, you can turn it on, you can turn it off, you can scale it up, you can scale it down. You are in control of your lead generation for your business, and you can grow your business to wherever you want it to be by taking control of your advertising, and you're not depending on others for your growth. And again, not to say that warm leads are bad. They're absolutely wonderful. They're amazing. But if you really want to grow your business and you want to take control, you have to create a system where you get to control who sees your ads, when they see your ads, how much money you're spending on the ads, and the results of those campaigns too. So thank you for listening to me blab on. Let's do some Q&A here. Drop your questions into the chat. There's no dumb questions.
Well, Mark, thanks again for taking the time to share that wealth. I know there's a lot in there, and sounds like it's
There's
a
a
little bit
lot.
of science and a little bit of art to it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your insight. So yeah, feel free to ask some questions, drop them in the chat. I know we got several people on the webinar right now, but of course we're recording this, and for all of our monthly partners, this is going to be given to you guys afterwards as well. So if there's some questions you have and you're not watching this live, feel free to shoot me an email. I can get you in touch with Mark and get their team to advise and help how they can. But looks like we have a question here. It says, any
Ooh,
thoughts
yes.
on putting money into TikTok given the potential for a ban?
I
Interesting.
love this. Obviously it's a very real possibility that TikTok will be banned. And I would say that it's actually more an answer to the question about the ban, that there are probably 50 companies who have a same TikTok, who are going to buy TikTok so that someone in the United States owns it. So it's very unlikely that the entire thing is going to be completely banned in the United States without anyone able to use it. It's probably more of a logistics business question where like if the government says, oh, we're going to ban it, TikTok will sell to someone in the United States and someone's going to take it over. And I don't think that given the size and the magnitude of TikTok that it actually is going to just disappear. So I am personally myself fully invested in it and full steam ahead. And even if that like worst case scenario does happen, those bans aren't going to go into effect immediately. And why not use it for the next 3 months to like win as many people over as you can?
That's good. Along
Clay
those
asked a
lines, Mark, I
question.
noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. No, you go
So,
ahead.
Yeah, so Clay asked the question, can the ads be the same in all platforms or should they be different? Yeah, Clay, if I would encourage you to watch the replay because Google ads are very, very different than Meta ads and TikTok ads are just video. Like it's just a 16 by 9 video on your phone. So they absolutely are very different on each platform in terms of how they look and their shape. And then maybe another follow-up question to that you might have is like, well, like, can my video be the same? It can actually, and I would lean toward the organic TikTok side of things when it comes to your video that you use in your ad, like make it before and after, make it behind the scenes, because that really is where Gen Z and younger millennials land right now, is they want authenticity. They don't want to be sold to.
Hmm. So we got Haynes has a question for us. She said, if you were to invest in just one platform, which would you use for advertising?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Haynes. I wish that I could answer that question for you and say just one, but the truth is that couples, if you're going to advertise, they need to see you in multiple places, multiple times, and in multiple formats. If you just do Google ads, you're going to get a bunch of people that click over to your website, but they're going to immediately forget about you. They're going to go back to the Google. They're in that discovery journey of finding out what venues exist, what florists, who exists near me to help me with my wedding. So if you do just one platform, you're going to spend money and you're going to be disappointed and frustrated because they're not seeing you as many times as they need to see you. So unfortunately, the truth is you need to do Google ads and at least one other platform, either Google and Meta or Google and TikTok, to ensure that couples see you multiple times.
And if I could add to that too, Mark, I think that's one thing. If we look at the broader conversation and the space of marketing, that's real interesting. I remember your slide at the beginning where you kind of had us on this journey where they saw a Google ad and they went to the website and then they went and kind of came all the way around and then we had to
Yeah.
get them back with the TikTok ad. Um, that one thing we always preach at Forever and Company, and for us, of course, we see ourselves as one of our competitors is, of course, in a way, Google or Facebook or Meta or TikTok, in the sense for your marketing dollars. And so for us, we're a marketing company. We see ourselves as that, and our goal is we want to connect you with that. And one thing I think all of y'all on this call probably heard me say before is that don't just spend money on the wedding show.
Mhm.
That's a good tool in your marketing tool belt, but it's not a
Yeah.
silver bullet. It's not going to solve your marketing issues. And I think in the same way, just Facebook or just Google ads or just TikTok or whatever the piece of the puzzle that you want to focus in on, it really works best when you put together this greater plan. And the greater plan doesn't mean super expensive plan, but it just means more of an effective, targeted approach that people are getting connected with in different ways. And so they're not just
Yeah.
you in one place and only hearing you in one place. They're seeing you over here and over here and over here. And all of that with the right targeting can actually be reasonably priced. It's not a huge budget, but at the same time effective. And so for us
Yeah.
on all these digital ads, we think this is a great tool for you leading up to a wedding show as you're doing a show. Is run some ads, get your name out there as more of just a introduction to the marketplace if they don't know you already or you haven't gotten your name out there. Do the show. Maybe when you see them, that's another touch point. And then, as we always talk about, use that lead list after the show and continue to run some ads to continue that journey.
Yes.
And Mark, you may have some thoughts on this. I know I heard at one point it takes about 20 touch points for someone to convert a sale. And we always say, the wedding show is not just one of those 20. We would argue the fact that you get to meet someone and talk to them for 3 or 4 minutes, that's a lot more than just seeing a Google ad for half a second as you're scrolling. But it's not 20 either. So let's say it's whatever the number is. I'll make it up and say it's maybe 15 on this metric is doing a wedding show. Then where are you getting those other five? And being able to invest a little bit in Google and Instagram, maybe as an email drip campaign or a combination of all that, is a great way to be able to go from zero, they don't know who you are, to all the way to 20, which is where they're booking you and getting the service.
Yes. And nothing replaces face-to-face conversations. And so actually punting that back to you and supporting what you guys are doing, Mark, like literally, we actually have some businesses with a little bit higher of a budget who like run their ad campaigns about like, come see us at the show, right? So it's like they're prepping their audience for that face-to-face conversation and like nothing replaces face-to-face conversations. And that's like the beauty of like being present at a show. And in an ideal world, like you put those two together and you're like, oh, running ads and like, hey, and then they're like, oh, I saw your ads. I'm seeing you in real life. You're shorter than I thought you would be, but I really like you, stuff like that. It really like supports each other in such a beautiful way. And so yeah, I could talk about that forever too, but we'll go to
And
questions.
I think, I mean, the space that we're in with connecting with couples is a very, very highly relational space.
Yep.
So other industries, when you're sending ads, all it takes is what's the product, what's the price, let me buy. Like there's
Yep.
something that's more transactional. And us, they want to know not just how good you are at, let's say, taking photos, but also what's your personality like? Do I connect with you? Do we have that relationship? And so that's why we think the ROI of meeting them face to face and us being able, as we say, to be a good stewards of your marketing dollars, where maybe you can't spend 100,000 on Google ads this year, but between multiple shows, we can do that, find those couples, bring them to you, but then you be able to add a little bit to that as well too, before and after the shows, and then using those lead lists. So as we grow and we get more people to shows, hopefully it's a benefit to you as
Yeah.
part of your marketing plan. But please do more than just the show, and that's the message that we want to make sure we constantly try to get out on that. So
I want to share one more thought real quick because I have an apology to make because I could have made one of those bubbles in my little journey screen like the show, right? It could have like
sure.
ended at the show where it's like they've seen you, they know you, and then all of a sudden they're seeing you face to face at the show, and it's literally like 1,000 times more likely that they're going to book you if they've been warmed up. And so again, how amazing those two things can work together is awesome.
Absolutely. So just looking here, we've got some more great questions. What do you think is a good, from Kelsey Hogg, a good audience size for an ad budget of 250 or less a month?
What do you think is a for a medium wedding? Sorry, where is this one? Oh, there's. I'm sorry. What do you think is a good audience size for an ad budget of 250 or less a month? Kelsey, I would not spend 250 a month. I would actually wait and save it up and spend $500 a month. Unfortunately, if you only have $250, you literally can't reach people multiple times, and you're going to spend that 250. You're going to get this top of the funnel visits to your website, and then you're not going to get anything from it. So I wish that it was 10 years ago when you could do that, but it isn't because the ad space is so crowded. You have so many competitors. There's so many messages out there. If you don't have a budget of 500 per month per platform, you're going to lose that money, and it's going to be frustrating.
Um, so along those lines, we have a question. What do you recommend in terms of percentage of marketing budget to dedicate to these ads?
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't really matter what percentage of your marketing budget you use. What matters is that you do ads on two platforms and that you spend $500 a month per platform. So the math is $1,000 a month. If that's 100% of your budget, that's a lot. If that's 10% of your budget, it's a lot. It really is so much about like how many people exist in a certain radius around your business and the amount of money it takes to reach them multiple times. So don't worry about percentages. That old rule of like, oh, you should be using X amount of dollars. Like it's super old school. It is all about how many people are there, how many times they need to see me to know, like, and trust me.
It's good. And I can assume the answer on this because of what you do, but another question we have is, would you recommend we use a professional for creating Google ads, or can we create an effective ad ourselves? So as someone who is a professional who creates Google ads, what's your pitch
Yes.
on that?
Yeah, yeah. And obviously this is not a sales pitch. Truly though, like in my job at the I Do Society, I speak to people every single day who did it themselves, and they're too close to their own business to be able to write that ad copy correctly or really get it. And so there are a few people who have enough time to learn the Google Ads platform themselves. But that's actually where I was in the beginning. I learned it myself. It took me many months, and it took me about $10,000 to learn it. So, and that's why our business exists. And I would recommend using a professional. But if it is something you have to do yourself, just know that it's going to take you time and money. And is it worth it in the end? Absolutely.
And that's where, I mean, that's what we decided at Forever and Company is, again, we've hired the I Do Society that they've been placing our ads for us. It's just, they do this for, wedding shows and other wedding vendors across the country. So they know it, they know the space, they know the demographics we're trying to hit. And a lot of you guys, I know we talked about this, our numbers were obviously not as high, which I like to blame on the Taylor Swift effect at the Super Bowl on
Damn
that.
you, Taylor.
But I truly think that's it. It's not a cop out on my end. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but out of the people we did have there, the 500 plus ticket sales, it seemed like we had a really good demographic. And that's what I kept hearing from vendors at the show was saying, yeah, we'd like a little bit more here, but the people that we've got were really good people. And so I think a lot of that's credit to you guys is where you knew how to find those. And I think on the flip side of the question about the $250 a month is there's also a ceiling where it's like, even if we wanted to spend more money,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everyone that was searching for wedding shows or typing in these keywords, they were seeing our ads. And so
Yep.
for us, we were spending as much as we could to be able to get in front of them. And there's a minimum to it where it's like, just don't waste any money unless you spend at least X amount. Because if they see you one or two times, you're not really moving the needle. There needs to be somewhat of a consistent amount that you get in front of them, so it has real effect. But there's also a ceiling to that as well too.
I'm glad you brought that up because like your business exists in most wedding businesses exist geographically somewhere, and there's a point where people aren't going to come to you or aren't going to hire you, right? And so like in an ideal world, you have this advertising system set up and like what it is every single year because you have a 50-mile radius. There's only so many brides or couples in that radius, and you really get to like have the joy of knowing what your costs are to reach and convert those couples. It takes a little bit of time to get there, but at the same time, like how cool is that to be able to say, hey, I know what I need to spend. I know what my radius is. I've got this system in place. I'm in control of my lead generation.
It's good. So Kyle asks, what do you think is the best thing for medium-sized wedding venue can do in the digital market to reach those newly engaged couples?
Kyle,
So
I'm going to ask you to,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
can you clarify that question, Kyle? Like, what do you think the best thing to do is, when you say the best thing, what's the thing? Sorry. I'm assuming, and I'm assuming this, but I don't want to answer it incorrectly.
Well, Kyle, while you answer that, let's go to another question here, and we'll come back to that. Is assuming you can't afford both, spend on a better website or SEO for organic reach, or I'm sorry, spend on a
I
better
get it.
website / SEO for organic reach, or start on ads.
I love this question. Yeah, if you can't afford both, um, actually, even before you start ads, if your website sucks, like don't spend money on ads because you're spending all this money to get people to come to your website. And if your website is not set up to take these cold audience who don't know you and convert them into a warm lead, absolutely make sure your website is awesome before you run ads. The SEO component is actually it's completely separate from advertising, so you don't actually need to spend a bunch of money on SEO. You could actually choose to run ads before you do SEO. We see that happen a lot of times because SEO is important, but it does take a long time. Whereas advertising, if your website's good and you have the budget, you're immediately getting leads because you're spending money. So,
That
yeah,
was one thing for us when I came in and took over Forever and Company. One of the issues we found was the ads were getting a lot of traffic to the website, but then they weren't converting. We
yeah,
weren't hitting them, and so that's where we rebranded for the show to the Triangle Wedding Show and created a nice one pager that was dedicated towards that journey of that, trying to help them understand what the show is, build credibility, and get them to buy that ticket. And the conversion rate, of course, went up because the website was designed in a way. So that's a great point, is that don't spend all this money on ads, and then when they get to the homepage, it's 5 or 6 clicks to get to where they need to be, and they're kind of confused because if they
yeah.
see an ad and they click on it, then you've got seconds to be able to keep them there and get them engaged before they just move on Twitter or wherever they're at, Instagram, to the next thing, or X, I should say, not Twitter anymore.
And make sure that like if you're going to do this, you don't DIY your website because what you think people want to hear and say, and when you DIY it yourself, like there's literally just things that you just don't see. So there's like a bunch of wedding professionals in the industry who create websites, all sorts of different price ranges, super cheap people, super expensive people. Use a professional who does web development and also understands the wedding industry. Work toward that in your business before you run ads.
That's good. So Kyle helped
Okay.
clarify here, if you can see that, Mark, and then
Yep.
maybe we can answer his question on that.
Okay, cool. So perfect. Thank you, Kyle. So spend money wisely, knowing you can only reach couples in a smaller radius compared to a photographer or a caterer. Which of these digital marketing tools would be best if you can only afford to? Definitely go with Google because you can handpick the zip codes or the cities or the areas that you want to spend. And if you're a venue and you're a specific type of venue, like outdoor wedding venue in Toledo, like lean into Google because it's very specific and it reaches people in specific areas that are actively looking for what you have to offer. And then for venues, I would 100% lean into TikTok because TikTok allows you to do a quick tour of a certain area of the venue, put it to music, or like do a like little clips of different couples getting married there. So you might be able to show the diversity of couples that get married there. Like it's not Instagram where it's like a perfect bride that no one looks like, you know? So Google ads and TikTok ads for sure for a venue in a smaller geography.
So Mark, I've got a question then that may follow up to that to help Kyle as well is, what are your thoughts on maybe explain what geofencing is and then share some of your thoughts on that? Because that would be, I feel like, an interesting
Yeah.
consideration for a physical, unlike a photographer being a venue and you have a physical space, being able to geofence maybe other venues in town or other spaces that people might be going and visiting.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
Geofencing, to explain it, is like you know that there's a certain wedding venue in a very very specific location and there's like and these you cannot do geofencing through any of the major ad platforms. They don't have that set up, but there are companies that can like do this third party geofencing where it's like I want to show my ads to people in this exact location, this bridal store or this venue. um from what I've heard, and I'm not an expert on geofencing, but we have talked about it like all the time and people who have tried it. From what I've heard, it doesn't work because people find it creepy. Like, like I'm
Right.
in a venue and this other venue is all of a sudden advertising to me. They know that I'm in the venue and that's creepy and I don't want to click on that because they know I'm here. So I don't know that for the wedding industry it's the right fit, but I do maybe think that for other industries where there's less emotion or like less huge dollar amounts spent, that it could be fine. Like if you're in a clothing store and some other clothing stores like buy this dress instead, it's a little bit different than like someone tracking you.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that is the that is the thing is we're both users, and in this sense, the
Advertisers.
marketers,
Yeah,
advertisers of it. So it's like we get at both ends. Like we don't like it when people track us, but at the end of the day, if we could get a list of all the contact info of all of our potential clients out there, you better believe we want to send stuff to them. So
total hypocrisy.
it's a
Yeah.
total hypocrisy. It's the world we live in. And just, I mean,
Yeah.
full disclaimer as well too for us with the geofencing is we're looking at potentially the other big show in town at the convention center. We're looking at potentially putting a little geofence around that for all the couples that go there, so they can start because that one's about 60 days before our August show, and so that way they can
Yeah.
start learning about that show and whether they don't find what they're looking for at that show or even if they do but just want to continue looking, then
I
we're
love this, Mark, because there's actually a really big difference between like your show and other businesses in the wedding industry where like your show, it's a really inexpensive ticket. It isn't like a $10,000 budget for a wedding venue. And I think that like, and I love we're kind of like almost not disagreeing, but like we're having this conversation about it because like your show is a low barrier to entry, which is a good thing. You have a huge quantity and huge quality, but like a dress is so personal or a venue is so personal. So maybe for you guys, like that's an awesome idea, right?
uh, no, that's a
Yeah.
great point. That's a great point. Well, friends, any other questions? We're here at the hour mark, so I want to be sensitive to everyone's time. Of course, feel free to jump off if you need to go, but we appreciate everyone watching this. If you've got two more questions, put them in the chat. We'll be sure to get to them. And for our friends watching the recording, feel free to email us, mark at foreverandcompany.com, and I can get that. I'll pass it along to Mark Chapman and get the information there. But we're so grateful for your time. And Mark, thank you. Thanks for your wisdom
Thank you
and
so much.
what you do for our show and so much more. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks all. Have a great day. Bye bye.